The Ashkenazi Jewish community has long been a subject of both admiration and mystery. With a history spanning over 2 millennia, their origins have been marked by migrations, resilience, and cultural evolution. Despite facing persecution and discrimination in various parts of the world, the Ashkenazi Jews have maintained a distinct cultural and religious identity that is deeply intertwined with their roots in the ancient Israelites. However, understanding the origins of the Ashkenazi Jews requires a multifaceted approach, looking into genetics, historical migrations, cultural influences, and the interplay between Jewish and European histories. In this exploration, we will dive into the origins of Ashkenazi Jews, from their ancient roots in the Middle East to their rise as a unique cultural group in Europe. We will explore how their history and genetic makeup connect them to the ancient Israelites, while also examining how European interactions over centuries shaped their identity. The story of the Ashkenazi Jews begins thousands of years ago in the Middle East. Jewish history is deeply rooted in the land of Israel, where the ancient Hebrews, descendants of Abraham, lived and developed their religious and cultural traditions. The Ashkenazi Jews, like all Jewish groups, trace their lineage to the tribes of Israel, particularly the kingdoms of Israel and Judah in the Levant region. Despite the trauma of conquest, exile, and displacement over the centuries, Jews maintained their identity, practices, and heritage. Following the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE, Jewish communities began to spread across the Middle East and beyond. Some groups remained in the Levant, while others moved to Egypt, Persia, and as far as India. By the time of the Roman Empire, Jews had already formed communities in Europe, particularly in Greece and Italy, due to the expansive networks of trade and the favorable conditions for Jewish migration under Roman rule. The transition from a Middle Eastern Jewish identity to the distinct European identity of the Ashkenazi Jews began around the 4th century BCE. Early Jewish settlements began emerging in the Mediterranean region, especially in parts of Greece and Italy. However, it wasn't until the rise of the Roman Empire and its later conflicts that Jewish migration to Europe began to intensify. By the 2nd century CE, Jewish colonies had spread across the Roman Empire, particularly in what is modern-day France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. This migration was spurred by a combination of social, economic, and religious factors, such as trade opportunities, religious freedom, and fleeing persecution from other regions. It's important to note that this period of migration wasn't a singular event, but a gradual process that occurred over centuries. Jewish communities established themselves in several regions in Europe, laying the groundwork for what would eventually become the Ashkenazi Jewish population. One of the most fascinating aspects of Ashkenazi Jewish identity lies in their genetic makeup. Studies have shown that Ashkenazi Jews share a significant portion of their genetic material with other Jewish populations, particularly from the Levant region. However, their genetics also reveal notable European influences that have shaped their identity. The genetic composition of Ashkenazi Jews reflects a complex mixture of Levantine and European ancestry. Research indicates that approximately 60% of Ashkenazi Jews' DNA is European, with the remaining 40% stemming from their ancient Jewish ancestors from the Levant. This European genetic contribution largely comes from interactions with local European populations, particularly from Southern and Eastern Europe, over many centuries. Interestingly, much of this European genetic influence came through the maternal line, suggesting that early Jewish men who migrated to Europe often intermarried with local women. This pattern of intermarriage between Jews and non-Jews helped shape the Ashkenazi Jewish identity and led to their distinct appearance and cultural practices. As Ashkenazi Jews settled into European life, they began to develop a distinct culture that blended their ancient Jewish roots with the influences of the societies they lived in. This cultural fusion created the unique Ashkenazi Jewish identity that is recognized today. In Europe, Jews faced a challenging and often hostile environment. They were subjected to economic restrictions, forced conversions, and widespread discrimination. Despite this, Jewish communities established their own religious, cultural, and social institutions, which allowed them to preserve their identity over centuries. One of the key factors in the preservation of Ashkenazi Jewish culture was the maintenance of religious practices. Jewish communities in Europe continued to observe traditional religious rituals such as kosher dietary laws, Sabbath observance, and the study of the Torah. These practices helped foster a sense of community and continuity that transcended the challenges of exile and persecution. Additionally, Ashkenazi Jews developed their own language, Yiddish, a blend of Hebrew, German, and Slavic languages, which became a defining feature of their culture. Yiddish-speaking communities spread across Europe, and Yiddish literature, music, and theater became central to Ashkenazi Jewish cultural life. By the Middle Ages, Ashkenazi Jews had become the dominant Jewish group in Europe, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe. They were often the first to develop strong communal structures and institutions, which became models for Jewish life throughout the continent. Ashkenazi Jews played a central role in the intellectual, religious, and economic life of European Jewry. Jewish scholars, philosophers, and rabbis such as Rashi, Maimonides, and the Baal Shem Tov came from Ashkenazi communities, contributing to the development of Jewish thought and practice. Furthermore, Ashkenazi Jews became deeply involved in trade, commerce, and crafts. Despite facing discrimination and financial restrictions, many Ashkenazi Jews became skilled artisans, merchants, and financiers, making significant contributions to the economies of the regions they inhabited. The history of Ashkenazi Jews in Europe is marked by both periods of thriving and suffering. From the medieval period to the early modern era, Ashkenazi Jews faced widespread discrimination, including being scapegoated for societal problems and subjected to pogroms and expulsions. The most significant event in Ashkenazi Jewish history, however, was the Holocaust, during which 6 million Jews, the vast majority of whom were Ashkenazi, were murdered by the Nazis. This devastating event decimated the Ashkenazi Jewish population and left a deep scar on Jewish identity. Yet despite this tragedy, Ashkenazi Jews demonstrated remarkable resilience. After World War II, many survivors rebuilt their communities, particularly in Israel and the United States, where Ashkenazi Jews formed the backbone of Jewish life. Today, Ashkenazi Jews represent the largest Jewish group worldwide, and their cultural influence is widespread. The Ashkenazi Jewish community represents a remarkable fusion of ancient Middle Eastern heritage and centuries of European interaction. Their genetic roots in the Levant, combined with their European experiences, have shaped them into a distinct cultural group with a rich history and a vibrant legacy. From their ancient origins in the Middle East to their rise as a powerful force in European Jewry, Ashkenazi Jews have maintained their identity through perseverance and adaptation. Today, they continue to contribute to the Jewish community and the world in fields such as education, science, art, and politics, ensuring that their legacy endures for generations to come. As we look back at the origins of the Ashkenazi Jews, we are reminded of the importance of understanding our roots, embracing cultural diversity, and celebrating the resilience of communities in the face of adversity. The story of the Ashkenazi Jews is not just a tale of one group's survival, but a testament to the enduring power of identity, faith, and heritage.